This is Trey Lance. By now, some may already know who he is, but he just put up one of the greatest collegiate seasons of all time, scoring 42 total touchdowns and throwing 0 interceptions as a redshirt freshman. He's been branded by many as the best quarterback you haven't heard of, but who is he, and how is he so good? In today's video, we'll be looking at Trey's football career to date and answering the question as to why he's the best quarterback you've never heard of. For the people who aren't familiar with Trey, this is who he is. Standing at 6'3", Lance was a 3-star quarterback coming out of Marshall, Minnesota. He started at quarterback for his local high school, Marshall High School, for 3 seasons and was a 3-time All-District performer and made the All-State team in 2017. Throughout his high school career, he passed for 3,000 yards and a school record 33 touchdowns with 1,177 more yards and 18 touchdowns on the ground. He received offers from schools like Boise State, Northern Illinois, and North Dakota State, and he ultimately chose to go to NDSU. In 2017, he redshirted and didn't play for the majority of the year, only making appearances against North Alabama and South Dakota. This time off really helped Trey. Not only was he able to learn behind Easton Stick, but he was also able to work on his skills. Coming out of high school, Trey wasn't the most elite passer in the nation. He had the talent, but scouts felt it needed to be worked on. By the time 2019 rolled around, he won the starting job and he quickly impressed with his opportunity. In just his first game against Butler, he completed 10 of 11 passes for 185 yards, 4 touchdowns, and added 116 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He rode that hot start to a 16-0 season, capped off with the national championship game victory over James Madison. His best performance of the season came against Western Illinois, where he completed 77% of his passes, threw for 313 yards and 2 touchdowns. He quickly took the entire FCS world by storm, winning the national championship and throwing 28 touchdowns and rushing for 14 more, and totaling 2,786 yards through the air and 1,100 more on the ground. Oh yeah, and Trey didn't throw a single interception the entire year and only lost 1 fumble the entire season. This was a phenomenal season on the surface, and it has had everyone raving about how great of a player he is, and it's really hard to argue against it. Of course, everyone will mention the competition that he has played against. After all, the FCS doesn't have the same amount of competition that the FBS offers. But just like Trey's dad, Carlton Lance, told him, if you can play, the scouts will find you. And being great at the FCS level hasn't stopped these quarterbacks from playing in the NFL. Phil Simms and Doug Williams were stars of the 80s and 90s, and both eventually became Super Bowl champions. Steve McNair was taken 3rd overall. Joe Flacco also has won himself a Super Bowl after coming out of Delaware. And then you have Carson Wentz, a North Dakota State quarterback who quickly rose up draft boards in a matter of months and was selected 2nd overall to the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though the FCS doesn't have similar competition to the FBS, Trey is in a perfect situation at NDSU. The previously mentioned Wentz and Easton Stick are 2 recent Bison quarterbacks to get drafted, and Lance was able to learn under Stick, who learned under Wentz. There's knowledge to go around everywhere at the position, and at the head of the quarterback room is Randy Hedberg. Randy has proven to be one of the best quarterback coaches in the nation through any level. Just see Wentz and Stick. He puts in a ton of work with his quarterbacks, taking the time to help them develop traits and pick up on little things. He said Trey watched tape of Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and really pay attention to their footwork and the way they keep their eyes down the field. It's the overall system at NDSU that really shows that Trey's skills could translate to the NFL. Hedberg states that we're an under-center football team for the most part. We give our quarterbacks a lot of latitude at the line of scrimmage. They set protections, our guys go from run to pass or pass to run. We're a huddle team and our guys are in huddle with 10 other guys. We're not looking to the sideline to read a card or whatever it is. I do think our system really prepares young men for the next level. But of course, with the work, we need to look at production. We know the talent that the FCS has, but let's take a look at his production in the biggest games. The ones I pinpoint are his first game, the games against the 2 better teams in his conference, and the playoffs. We know that in his first game, he torched the Butler defense for 6 total touchdowns and just 1 incomplete pass. In the game against Illinois State, the 3rd best team in his conference, he completed 12 of 15 passes, threw for 189 yards and 3 touchdowns, with 43 more yards on the ground. In his first 3 playoff games, he threw for a combined 527 yards and 5 touchdowns, adding 193 yards and 3 more touchdowns on the ground. In the championship game, he threw for only 72 yards, but totaled 166 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. His worst game of the season came against South Dakota State, who was the 2nd best team in his conference, where he threw for just 62 yards. What was important to me over these 7 games was how he responded to the quote-unquote bad games. The week after South Dakota State, Trey completed 7 of 9 passes for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns against Youngstown State. And after completing just 47.6% of his passes in the quarterfinal against Illinois State, he threw for 223 yards and 3 touchdowns the following week with 2 rushing touchdowns in the semifinal. The bad games might be concerning to some, but not every quarterback is going to play great for 16 straight games in a season, especially not a redshirt freshman. It was very encouraging to see how a young quarterback was able to respond to adversity and come up big for his team. Throughout the season, it appeared that even if he had a bad game, he still made up for it in the same game. For example, in that game against South Dakota State, he threw the touchdown that ended up being the difference and rushed for 76 yards. But let's look at Trey's collective season as a whole to see how special it really was. He became the first freshman to win the Walter Payton Award as the top offensive player in the FCS and won the Jerry Rice Award as the top freshman player in the FCS, meaning that he became the first player ever to win both major FCS legacy awards. In terms of how his stats compare to not just this season, but all time, here's what Trey accomplished. He led the FCS with a 180.6 pass efficiency rating, ranked second in yards per pass attempt with 9.71, fourth in points responsible for with 252, fifth in completion percentage with 66.9, and 10th in rushing yards per carry with 6.51. He set the NCAA All Divisions record for most passing attempts in a complete season without an interception at 287 attempts. And he broke school records for most attempts without an interception and the records for best passing efficiency and total offensive yards. And here are all of the accolades he collectively earned in just one season. Yeah, but the one thing that matters outside of stats is strength. What can Trey really offer a team besides a bunch of numbers? Trey's most valuable asset is both his legs and his arm. While his arm was a question coming out of high school, it's no longer that. Trey only had one game with less than a 50% completion percentage and just 4 with under a 60% completion percentage. He's insanely good in the red zone as well, as the team scored a touchdown at an 83% success rate. Trey is just able to put the ball where only his receivers can get them, and he's excellent throwing short or deep. This 47-yard throw in particular against the Butler Bulldogs in the first game is a prime example of that arm talent on display, as he puts the ball right where he needs to. Trey has great mechanics throwing the football, and the ball always comes out quick. Maybe some of that is down to the fact that he's played baseball before, and as we know, pro quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray has used those same skills on the football field. Whatever it may be though, Trey has worked on his mechanics and it has paid off a lot. His athleticism as well is something that scouts are going to notice, and by now, we've all noticed. He can make a play out of nothing, and although he's not the fastest, he's agile and can make guys miss and gain yards. In crucial scenarios, Lance averaged 10.2 yards per carry on third downs, rushing for 27 first downs and 8 touchdowns on 44 carries. Trey doesn't look to run first, but when he needs to, he's dangerous. His pocket awareness in general is also impressive for his age. He was only sacked 14 times, and while some of that can be attributed to his great offensive line last year, there's credit to go for him too. Like I said, Trey can make plays out of nothing, and his athletic ability is able to get him out of situations where others might get sacked. This run here against James Madison in the national championship showcases that pocket presence and athleticism on prime display. Or even this throw against Montana State in the semifinal on a big third down that gave the Bison a 21-point lead in the third quarter. Last but not least, Trey's decision making might be the best in the nation. It seemed that all of last season, he was making the right plays, throwing to guys with the best chance to catch a ball, running when he needed to, and keeping the ball safe. 0 interceptions really speaks for itself, and although that takes some luck, there's credit for Trey's ability to keep the ball safe. He sees the game at a different level, and he just fully committed to football less than 5 years ago. His IQ and decision making will likely only get better from this point on, and that's something that scouts really love. But when you add all these components together and you look at Trey's frame, he has a lot of potential to grow as a quarterback. So there you have it. Those are just some of the reasons as to why Trey Lance is the best college quarterback you haven't heard of. Of course, he has his concerns like every athlete in the world. He'll sometimes sail the ball too high on passes, and the competition he went against as well as the talent around him brings questions to his productivity. But regardless of those questions and the noise, in just one college season starting, Trey Lance has put himself on the path to stardom. You can watch the tape, and you will see that Trey has it. But as always, only time will tell if Trey Lance can continue to build his draft stock and become a star at the NFL level. This has been a video on Trey Lance. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.